Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, and welcome to a Presbyterian St. Patrick's Day.
We are so delighted that you can join all of your friends online at Christ Presbyterian Community Church for our Presbyterian St. Patrick's Day celebration. It's going to include a little bit of everything Irish. We have an Irish storyteller, we have Irish singing from wonderful Shauna, and we have a very special dance troupe of Irish dancers. It's going to be a wonderful hour filled with fun.
Yeah, but I think there's something you didn't mention that we should include, Eileen.
I think I've got it all. What could we be missing?
Maybe a little Irish humor?
Oh boy.
Maybe a joke or two, maybe? What do you think?
All right, let's start with a joke.
Okay, so Mary is looking for a little romance. And so she says to Patty, "Hey, Patty, if you were stranded on a desert island, who would you want there with you?" And Patty quickly replies, "Well, I'd want my Uncle Mick." Well, Mary's a little disgusted. "Really?" she says. "Really? What's so special about your Uncle Mick?" And Patty says, "Well, he's got a boat."
Oh, well, we had an Irish joke.
Oh, but we could have another one.
Well, maybe let's see
Sure.
how this plays
Sure,
out.
we could have one more, I think, one more. So a gentleman is at the racetrack, and he's watching the horses before the races, and a priest walks in and splashes holy water on a horse, and the horse wins the race. So the guy says, I'm going to keep my eye on this, and sure enough, before the next race, the priest goes in again, splashes another horse with some water, and that horse wins the race. And this guy says to himself, "Boy, I'm going to keep watching too. If he goes and splashes another horse with holy water, I'm putting everything I own on that horse, everything I've got." And sure enough, the priest walks in, splashes another horse. The guy runs to find a bookie, takes everything he's got, he puts it on that horse, and he's ready. He's watching the race, and he's all excited. And sure enough, the horse breaks out to an early lead, but 100 yards out from the start, that horse drops dead. Drops dead. And the guy is just ruined. He finds the priest. He says, "What's the deal?" He says, "I watch you put water on a horse and he wins. I watch you put water on a horse and you're not." He wins. And now I do it again. I watch again, and you put your holy water on this horse, and he dies. I lost everything. I lost every penny. What's the deal? What's the deal? And the priest says, he says, "You're Presbyterian, aren't you?" And he said, "Well, yes, I am, but how did you know that?" He says, "Well, because you Presbyterians don't know the difference between giving a blessing and administering the last rites."
Oh, Greg. Well,
so is that enough humor for the night, Eileen?
I think we're good on the jokes.
That may be the end of the humor, but there's a lot of fun left, and we're going to start it all off with our own Irish lass, Shauna O'Sullivan, singing Molly Malone.
In Dublin's fair city, where the girls are so pretty, 'twas there I first met with sweet Molly Malone. She drove a wheelbarrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. but her ghost wheels a barrow through streets broad and narrow, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh. Alive, alive, oh, alive, alive, oh, crying cockles and mussels, alive, alive, oh.
Friends, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a renowned Irish dancer who's here to share a little bit of the history and his knowledge of this incredible sport. His name is Michael Prine, and it is our absolute pleasure to share with you his talent and maybe even a little Irish dancing.
Hi there, my name is Michael Prine, and I'm a teacher for the Malone Academy of Irish Dance here in San Diego. I'm a TCRG, which means Tagascore Commission Larinka Gaelica, which is a very fancy way of saying Certified Irish Dance Teacher through the Commission in Dublin, Ireland. I've been teaching with the Malone Academy for just shy of 10 years now, and I've been dancing under Michelle Malone-Childs, our director, for the past 23 years. We're very excited to be doing this performance for you, and I was asked to talk a little bit about Irish dancing, so that's what we'll do right now. I would love to talk to you a little bit about Irish dancing and answer a few questions that I get asked very regularly. The first question I'm always asked is, when did Irish dancing begin? And really the answer to that is, as long as there has been Irish music, there have been people tapping their toes, and that has turned into the dance form that we know today. There are two main styles of solo Irish dancing. We have soft shoe dancing, which is very ballet-like. The dancers are very high on their toes. You create long lines, big jumps. In soft shoe, the women dancers wear shoes called gillies, which is really just a piece of leather that goes over the sole of the foot and ties across the front. And the boys' soft shoes, we wear what's kind of like a jazz shoe with no toe and then a heel on the back, so we can do loud clicks and stomps as we move around the stage. The other style of Irish dancing, solo dancing, is hard shoe dancing. And that's a very percussive dance form. And we create the rhythms to the music and loud stomps, and it's very tap-like, and actually was part of how American tap dancing came about, and I'll talk more about that later. The other question I have about hard shoe is what the shoes are made of. So I have my daughter's teeny tiny Irish hard shoes here. You'll notice they are not at all like tap shoes. There's no metal tap here. A lot of people think that it's wood, and way back when it used to be, but now these tips and heels are made of fiberglass. So you have a fiberglass toe piece and a fiberglass heel, and when those hit the floor, you get a nice deep sound rather than the ticky tap sound of a metal tap. The heels are hit together and used in the rhythms, and yeah, so these are what Irish hard shoes look like. The dances that you're going to see next are from our performance at the Nations of San Diego International Dance Festival in 2018 down at the Lyceum Theater in downtown San Diego. You'll see a soft shoe number called the Slip Jig, which will lead into an a cappella piece that we call Sticks, and into our finale number. It's always such a blessing to be able to perform in this wonderful festival that includes dance forms from all around the world, and we're very excited to be the Irish representation for here in San Diego.
During this pandemic time, I have seen our kids be absolutely flexible and adaptable in the most amazing ways. This afternoon, we invited our girls to come and learn from a wonderful Irish dancer who at the last second wasn't able to be here. And so a dear friend of mine who happened to be a student of this wonderful dancer, I texted her at the last second. I said, would you have a few minutes to teach our girls an Irish dance? So over Zoom in this room, my very most favorite friend, Kirsten Gore, taught our wonderful dance crew this Irish dance that you are about to watch. Our performers tonight are probably familiar to some of you, but just in case, their names are Ainsley O'Elsner, Amber O'May, Solana O'Hudson, Charlie O'Lupo, and Ashley O'May. Enjoy.
What would a Presbyterian St. Patrick's Day be without an Irish story? Which means we had to find an Irish storyteller. And so we looked all over the world, really, but where should you look except perhaps in Ireland? And we found one in Cork, by way of Minnesota, by way of San Diego. Yes, we have an authentic Irish storyteller and musician right here in San Diego. And so I'm glad to introduce to you Martin de Cogain. And he'll share with you some very special stories.
Hello everybody, I'm Martin de Cogain, all the way from Cork in Ireland, and delighted to be celebrating the St. Patrick's season with all the people of the Christ Presbyterian Church in Carlsbad. I'm going to sing a few songs and tell you a few stories and help pass away the time as we celebrate the season of Irishness. I'll start now with the first thing most people think about when they don't know much about Ireland, or even when they know a lot about Ireland. It's the people of the other world, the Lurachan, the Luacarpan, the Leprechaun, the good people, the little people, the good folks. Watch out for them. They're not always happy, and they're certainly never happy to see you. Many people around San Diego now, especially school children, have shoe boxes around the place, trying to catch leprechauns as they come into the classroom late at night. But I'll tell you a song now, and in the story in this song, Robert Dwyer Joyce tells us from the middle of the 1800s how they would have caught leprechauns. They would have seen them in the shadows during the night of a full moon. And you creep up nice and quiet. And when you catch them, you put your arms around them and don't let go. For if you take your eyes off them for a split second, they're gone. And while you have them, you get 3 wishes. But do not ask for any more, no matter how much they offer them to you, because there's no place for greed in the other world. Best of luck in your hunting, but be careful what you wish for. In the shady nook one full moon night, a leprechaun I spied, with scarlet cap and coat of green, a crushkin by his side. A tick Tick-tack, his hammer went upon a weeny shoe, and I laughed to think he was caught at last, and the fairy was laughing too. With tiptoe step and beating heart, quite softly I grew nigh. There was mischief in his merry face, a twinkle in his eye. He hammered and sang with tiny voice, and drank his mountain dew, and I laughed to think of his purse of gold, but the fairy was laughing too. As soon as I thought I'd seized the elf, your fairy purse, I cried. The purse it is in her hand, that lady by your side. I turned to look, the elf was off, and what was I to do? Oh, I laughed to think of the fool I'd been, but the fairy was laughing too. Oh, I laughed to think of the fool I'd been, but the fairy was laughing too. There you are, the leprechaun. Well, I'll sing another song now, a little ditty I got from the singing of Donny Carroll, who's living in New York, another Cork man. And that's a song called Patsy Fagan, about all the Irish that went out working hard and trying to show the people they're decent out. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you can hear the girls all cry. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you're the apple of me eye. You're a decent boy from Ireland, there's no one can deny. You're a harum-scarum, a devil-may-care-um, a decent Irish boy. I'm working here in Glasgow, I found a decent job. I'm carrying bricks and mortar, and my pay is 15 bob. I rise up in the morning, I get up with the lark, and when I'm walking down the street, you'll hear the girls remark, hello, Patsy Fagan, you can hear the girls all cry. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you're the apple of me eye. You're a decent boy from Ireland, there's no one can deny. You're a harum-scarum, a devil-may-care-um, a decent Irish boy. If there's anyone among you would like to marry me, I'd take her in a little boat across the Irish Sea. I'd dress her up in satin and please them all I can, to let the people know that I'm a decent Irish man. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you can hear the girls all cry. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you're the apple of me eye. You're a decent boy from Ireland, there's no one can deny. You're a harum-scarum, a devil-may-care-um, a decent Irish boy. The day that I left Ireland was many years ago. I left me home in Antrim, where the pigs and praties grow. But since I left old Ireland, it has always been my plan to let the people see that I'm a decent Irish man. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you can hear the girls all cry. Hello, Patsy Fagan, you're the apple of me eye. You're a decent boy from Ireland, there's no one can deny. You're a harum-scarum, a devil-may-care-um, a decent Irish boy. You're a harum-scarum, a devil-may-care-um, a decent Irish boy. There you are. That's Patsy Fagan. And I play it here with my bodhrán. I got this from a friend in Texas who's a brilliant bodhrán maker called Rob Faulkner. He's got meatloaf bodhráns. And you strike it with a stick like this. We call the stick a kippeen, but you can call it a stick if you like. And the skin is made from goat. Listen. This is called Brenda 2.0. And then I can press on the back here to get different sounds. I don't know, can you hear that? Anyway, this is my lovely bodhrán. So with that, I'm going to slow it down a bit, and this is a lovely concert for the Christ Presbyterian Church. And you had a fantastic concert in November with Sean O'Sullivan, who will be singing Danny Boy on your celebration on the 17th, if you haven't been to it already. And so, this is a song especially for Eileen Moran, who is the assistant pastor. And it's her second wedding anniversary to Richard Van Giesen. She couldn't marry an Irish person, but she got the best of the rest. And that's all right. You'd never know. Maybe there's some Irish in him anyway. So with that, this is a song in Irish, and it's a prayer. And it's Christ an Shiel. Christ is the seed. And it was set to music in the 1950s or 60s by a great composer called Sean O'Riordan. You can find out more about him if you like. He was a great part of the rebirth of Irish music in the 50s and 60s. Anyway, the song goes, Christ is the seed, Christ is the harvest, and into his haggard that we may be gathered. E Christon Shiel, e Christon for in the hill and day go dochter sing. E Christon vuir, e Christon teisk, Eliantiv day go gaster sing. O sko hish, e so ish go bos, the galive Christ an aularin. O was go chriach na chriach achas, e baras ng rast go row. Well, with this season of St. Patrick, it's not all about going to the bars and having green beer. Who was St. Patrick? Sure, what do we know? Only that the man himself wrote his last confession, his Confessio de San Patricio. And so with that, I didn't pronounce that properly, but you'll find it out yourselves when you go to Google. So he wrote a confession, and he wrote about his time as a young man. I suppose he may have been a Roman citizen in Wales, or indeed, we don't know, maybe Wales was Irish at that time. Wales was between Ireland and England and Rome and itself, the Welsh people. Anyway, so with that, he was a kind of upper middle class boy at 16. I suppose he's a man at that time. Most men were kind of grown up at that time at 16, right? Jeepers, you'll be barely able to feed yourself at 16 nowadays, right? Huh? And there's some 16-year-olds blushing at that. So he was out down the river, and up came a ship from Ireland, Mointer na Gael, pillaging, and they stole him away and brought him to the hills of Armagh and made him tend sheep as a slave for over 6 years. Can you imagine it? Sure, he mightn't have even liked sheep, and he'd be out there in the wild, blistering weather. It could be freezing up that part of the country. And he wasn't a very holy boy, but I tell you, he got to know his prayers well while he was out in the darkness in the hills in the north of Ireland, up around here. Right, they call it Downpatrick now. There's a beautiful interpretive centre there, if you ever get to go. And so he prayed and prayed to the Lord above to give him salvation. And so he got a dream telling him to run to the boat. And he ran and broke free from his slavery after 6 years and ran to the boat. Where was the boat? Maybe it was down in Cork. Lots of people got the boat in Cork. And he was trying to get the boat, and the man said to him, "Oh, there's no going out today, sure, look at the clouds. To be wild, be too wild to be going out. The sea is too stormy, we'd die." And he said, "I have been guided by God above, and he will give you a great harvest of fish if you take me across the water." And he escaped across the water into England, or maybe to France, maybe it was. And so with that, he stuck to his prayers and became a priest, and he was ordained a bishop. I think he did his training down in France. And then after all that, he said he had a voice from above. Maybe it was the Pope himself, maybe it was another bishop sending him back, but he was told to go back and bring salvation to the people of Ireland. And so with that, he went back, sailed across back the Irish Sea and brought Christianity to Ireland. And as he was there, bringing Christianity to all the people, he didn't do it by force. He did it by his actions and telling the people that they were already worshipping God, even though they were worshipping the sun and the hills and the plants. He took up the shamrock by all accounts, although it's not in his confession. He took up the shamrock and said that in the shamrock there are 3 leaves, and just like the Trinity, the Father, Son and the Holy Ghost, they are one. You take 1 leaf away, it's not a shamrock. You add 1, it's not a shamrock. It's a 4-leaf clover. And so he won the people over. And he didn't say, good luck to all of your traditions. He brought them in. And the Irishness of prayer, with the prayer brought through Christianity, developed into the Celtic cross. So we have the Celtic cross here, the cross of Christianity, and the circle of the sun worshippers. And St. Patrick brought the idea of Christianity to Ireland in a peaceful way. Well, now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll do a sing-along. It's called Johnny Go Boating, all the way from Cork, right around here. Cork is an island nation where the River Lee rises in the west, flowing eastward, engulfing the city in 2 channels before it goes out into the Atlantic Ocean. Here's a lovely song I got from Gus McLaughlin called Johnny Go Boating. Sing along now with the chorus. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating, kissing and courting. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Days of our youth when the sun always shone. Days of fond memories, oh where have they gone? Days when I wandered away from the flock and went boating with Johnny away down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating, kissing and courting. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Next Sunday morning we'll lave the cold quay. We'll bring bread and butter and a bottle of tea. Oh, don't mind the weather, for if it'll rain, we'll pull into Dunkettle, come home by the train. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating, kissing and courting. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Down the marina the crowd'll be grand. We'll listen a while to the Barrack Street band. Back on the river and so on our way, just Johnny and me on our beautiful day. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating, kissing and courting. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. We'll have a few drinks at the Pierhead Bar. Go for a ride in Flaherty's car. Around by Ringman and back to the pier, where we'll row away home with the tie Johnny dear. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating, kissing and courting. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Back once again at the Colkey Wall, everything wrapped in me mother's old shawl. Happy as children as homeward we walk, with our arms round each other, too tired to talk. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. Johnny go boating, kissing and courting. Johnny go boating down to Black Rock. There you go. And that was a song for all the Collinses at the Christ Presbyterian Church in Carlsbad. Sure, they're all wanting to go home and there's passports waiting for them as soon as we can. So with that, I'll sing you another song, and this is a song in the Irish language. That's right, we have our own Irish language. We sung a Christ and Shiel earlier, and this is another one called Neil na Law, which comes from West Cork. It says it's not the day. Because sometimes people would be going to late night establishments looking for some type of liquid to help them pass the night away. But sure, they give all their money then to the barman, and the barman would be saying, "'Tis time to go home." 'Tis not time to go home at all. 'Tis only the woman of the house, and she mocking me. So this is called Neil na Law. I recorded this with the Fuchsia Band and with the band Galfin. Anyway, you can check it out. It goes something like this. Tá na gaire gegiaun, tá na gaun le panyam. Prati she's gan deal o haun as the gun bjor na raifa valen Neil na la Neil na la na vadin Neil na la bandara is he marvagan. Is das venni shavano gunuri Nilsson tuppe is bra mer fiani or srinkid bordlish poker bulle Neil na la Neil na la vadin Neil na la bandara is he marvagan. Bulum sosis, bulum shis, bulum klon, van lana, korum gini, buir mordis, be me golem so gumadin, Neil la, Neil la, nana, vadin, Neil la, bandara is he marvagan. Don't send me out into the dark, the night is cold and I'll be perished. Come to bed with me a while, we'll have a roll around the blanket. Neil la, Neil la, nana, vadin, Neil la, bandara is he marvagan. Tá stoki diganol, tá vroga diglana, tá na kulig galere glekes med dosa dol valen Neil la, Neil la, nana, vadin Neil la, bandara is he mar Neil la, Neil la, nana, vadin Neil la, bandara is he mar vaga. There you go. Right, I've time for about one more story, and maybe get a song if I can. So this is a story that comes down the line for hundreds of years, and it's a story about Oisin, Tir na Nog, Oisin and the land of eternal youth. And these international travelling folktales can also be found in Japan. And I don't know if there's one from India as well, East India. And so this is the Irish version. Is this the original? Or did it travel from the other world? Who knows? But this is the story that I've heard. And if there's a lie in it, it can stay there. And it's up to you to take it out when you tell it. There was a band of men that used to guard the High King of Ireland called na Fianna. And they were led by Fionn McCool, who was a great warrior, who had second sight and could see the future if he sucked his thumb. And he had a most beautiful son called Oisin. And Oisin, not only a brave and strong warrior, merciless in battle, was also a beautiful poet and a wonderful singer, and could dance a step. For if you wanted to be in the Fianna, it wasn't enough to be a great fighter. You had to understand empathy and reasonings of the world. Now far away in the land of Tir na Nog, the land of eternal youth in the other world, that maybe scientists of squiggle theory can explain to us how we can get from here to there, there lived a king. And this king had a beautiful daughter called Niamh Cín Ór, Niamh of the golden hair. And every year, the kings of Tir na Nog would have a race up a hill to a throne. And whoever sat on the throne first was king for the following year. And this was a land of peace and harmony, where no one grew old, and there was harvest and game aplenty for everyone. But Niamh could not find a man, for her father had cursed her, for he had seen in a vision himself that the one she would marry would take over his kingship. And so he cursed her with a pig's head while the sun shone. So every day she walked around in the daylight with a pig's head, and when the moon came out, she was her beautiful self once more. This made it very difficult to find a suitor, so she wouldn't have it. And she found a magician to give her a white steed to send her off to other worlds to find a man. For she had heard of the Fianna and the great beauties to behold among those men. She went on her white steed and galloped off through the land of cloud, up across the land of rainbow, through the depthness of fire and darkness, and up through the waters of the oceans, on to the beaches on the west coast of Ireland, where the Fianna were doing their drills. And she paraded along on her horse, and no one took notice of her for her pig's head. But Oisín noticed the horse, and noticed how gracefully the lady on the horse was able to manage her steed. Well, that night there was a celebration, for every night the Fianna were mad for parties. Ah, sure, everyone had to tell a story, sing a song, recite a poem or do a dance. And when Niamh heard Oisín recite his new poem with such empathy, she knew he was the one for her. And she found him and spoke to him. And when Oisín saw that this was the lady who could manage a horse so well, with a beautiful face in the moonlight, his heart was taken. She said, "Come away with me, Oisín. I am a princess from Tirnanog, and you would be king one day if you come away with me." And Oisín said, "Jeepers, be hard to turn that down. I'll have to talk to me dad." So he went into his father and says, "Dad, I've just met a lasher outside. She's beautiful. She stole away my heart, and she wants me to go away with her to be king of her place when we get married." Fionn McCool sucked his thumb and saw the future, and said to his son, he said, "Oisín, I brought you up to be an independent man, to make your own choices in life, to travel the road that you wish to travel in your own way. But know this, if you take this lady and jump on the back of her horse, we shall never meet again. But know that my love will always be here for you, and that we shall miss you." "Ah, go away on that, sure, I'll come back, like. Sure, it's only a bit away, like. I mean, it can't be that far, right? I'll come back. Ah, sure, I'll be grand. I'll be back for the matches, right?" So he jumped on the horse, and they rode out into the sea in the middle of the night, down through the waves, through the land of darkness and fire, over across the land of rainbow, through the land of clouds, and into Tirnanog. Oh, the crack they had. It was amazing. The sport, the hunting, the game, the food, the parties, every night the same. But like every Irish man, Oisín's heart started to pang for Ireland. A year passed, and the race was to be had for the throne. They all stood at the starting line, and as they shouted the roar to commence, the king raced up ahead of all the posse. But when he reached the throne, who was there before him? Only Oisín himself. Well, he was king for the following year, and they had great sport. But the third year, Oisín's face grew very long, and his heart grew sad, for the want to be with the people of Ireland, to smell the sea shore on the west coast, the Atlantic blowing in upon him, to feel the heat of battle with the Fianna, to watch the matches, to hang out by the fireside with his friends. And people started to talk. They came to Niamh and said, "Niamh, what's the story with your man? He's awful sad. He's killing our buzz." So she went to talk to him. She said, "Oisín, What is wrong with you? You're going round with a long face. You're upsetting the people here. The harmony is being disturbed. He says, I'm just feeling homesick. He said, Oisin, when you jumped on my horse, I told you that you could go back any time you wanted. And you may. But know this, if you touch a blade of grass in Ireland, we shall never meet again. Take my horse if it will alleviate the pain and sorrow you are feeling. But please do not get off the horse. He said, listen, I'll just go for a day, hang out with the lads and I'll be back. So he jumped on the horse, out through the land of cloud, across the land of rainbow, through the depths of fire and darkness, and up around the seas of Ireland he came. But there was no sign of the Fianna. He travelled around and the houses were looking a bit different. The people's clothes were strange and people had funny haircuts. He travelled up the north, no sign of the Fianna. Down the south, no sign. The west coast, the east coast, Tara was no more. He was here in the centre, in a place they called Cashel now, and he saw a few men in brown robes, shaven tops of their heads, and white ropes around their waists with 3 knots hanging down. They were trying to move a boulder from a field they were harvesting in. And they were struggling when he rode up on his horse. He said, can you help me, men? I can lift that boulder with one hand. Oh, well, if that's the case, that'd be a great help to us, young man. He said, before I do, could you tell me, have you ever heard of the Fianna? And they laughed to guffaw. Sure, that's only legend, by. He said, I must find them yet. He put his hand down and he reached for the rock and he was pushing the rock, but with such force. He gave a twist. The rock gave way, flew down the hill, but the brace on the saddle broke. He slipped off the horse. His knees touched the grass of Ireland. The horse reared up and rode off west, leaving him behind. The 3 men watched the beautiful horse escape the man. And as they turned down to look at him, he was leaning against another boulder. And he was after aging so much. He looked so frail and small. They picked him up and brought him back to the abbey. And they laid him on a cold slab. They got a pillow for his head and a blanket for him. And they called in their abbot, who's a man named called St. Patrick. And St. Patrick spoke with Oisin. And Oisin told him the stories. And St. Patrick had the scribe take down all the stories of the Fianna and those of Tara in ancient Ireland. And St. Patrick told Oisin the stories of Christ and the Trinity. And the 2 men spoke to each other. And as they sat there listening to each other's stories, one almost believed the other. And it's from that chance meeting that we have the stories of Fionn McCool and the Fianna. Well, thanks very much, everybody. That's my show. Delighted to be here with you. Have a great time on the St. Patrick's season, and we'll see you sometime around San Diego. Sure, I'm only living down the road in Scribbs Ranch. Slán is benacht. We'll see you again all of a sudden. I'll leave you with this little ditty called O Róise de Vahualia. That's O Ro, you're welcome home. And Nish your hacht on Taurig. Now that the summer is coming. A song that's been sung for over 300 years in Ireland. Goes something like this. O Róise de Vahualia, O Róise de Vahualia, O Róise de Vahualia. And Nish your hacht on Taurig. She de Vahualia van Bollen voor de bear gracht toe weten. Geven druig brouw is of Merlock. So deal to lesh no go live. O Róise de Vahualia, O Róise de Vahualia, O Róise de Vahualia. And he share how come Taurig, the gron you will it, dream her soile, Oglig Armalame, or Garda Gaelit famous the gold mas spawning. Iscoridi shruiger golev. Oro shidavahwale, oro shidavahwale, oro shidavahwale. Hanisher hakom taurig, have we lirino varkovicum, monomin bioini, gak shachten granuel, is a mila goshkioch, ek fogert von her golev. Oro shidavahwale, oro shidavahwale, oro shidavahwale. Hanisher hakom taurig, oro shidavahwale, barlam huna kid bovane, oro shidavahwale. Hanisher hakom taurig.
What would St. Patrick's Day be without hearing Danny Boy? And so once again, Shauna Sullivan.
So I would like to end the evening by singing Danny Boy. So I'm sure many of you are familiar with this beautiful ballad. For me, this song reminds me of my dad. It was one of his favorites. So this is for my dad.
Oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the roses falling. 'Tis you must go and I must bide. But come ye back when summer's in the meadow and all the world is hushed and white with snow. 'Tis all behind summer or in shadow. Oh, Danny boy, oh, Danny boy, I love you so. When winters come and all the flowers are dying, and I am dead as dead
Friends, we hope you have enjoyed this night of fellowship and fun virtually. I can tell you that Pastor Greg and I feel that we have a bit of the luck of the Irish on us always for being the pastors of this congregation.
That's for sure. I feel like I've had a leprechaun on my shoulder for the last 6 years. I'm also grateful for the gifts of Dave Wright and David Griffith, whose filming and sound work and editing have made tonight's Presbyterian St. Patrick's Day possible. I also feel very blessed not only to have a gifted associate pastor, but to have one who's also an Irish lass, Eileen Moran Van Giesen. Don't forget that. She's got a lot of the Irish in her. So I think it's only appropriate, Eileen, that you be the one to offer the benediction on this Presbyterian St. Patrick's Day.
Friends, we are going to send you from this place with the Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rains fall soft upon your fields. And may God hold you always in the palm of his hand. So go from this place knowing that you are loved by God, that the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ is with you, and the fellowship and the friendship of the Holy Spirit is always close at hand. We pray for you and we love you and send you in God's name. Amen.
Next year in Dublin. Happy St. Patrick's Day, everyone.
Can we really do that?
And now, our feature presentation.